What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Off the Shelves. If you're new to this channel or new to this video, this is my monthly DVD and Blu-ray update video where I go over all the Blu-rays, DVDs I got over the past month, give my mini reviews on them, and say which ones you guys should go out and buy. Just like last month, I started out the video talking about my new Amazon affiliate partnership. This month, going to talk about the same thing. All of the Blu-rays and DVDs that you're going to see in this video, I'm going to have the Amazon links down below. If you guys want to help support this channel, this is a great way to do it. If you're interested in buying any of these Blu-rays or DVDs, click these links down below. It doesn't cost you anything more than it would if you just went to www.amazon.com yourself, but if you click the links that I provide, anything that you buy, even if it's not these Blu-rays and DVDs, if you want to buy some work clothes or a mattress or anything on Amazon, if you use my links, I'll get a kickback and a little commission for it. So it's an awesome way to help support this channel. Another awesome way to help support it, which I'm not going to go too deep into, is my new Patreon page. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of this video, but I'm going to have a lot of exclusive cool things over there for patrons, so definitely check that out. I'm going to have like exclusive movie reviews. I'm going to have movie commentaries coming out very soon, so definitely check that out. But without further ado, let's get into the Blu-rays and DVDs. They're all Blu-rays. Who am I kidding? I don't buy DVDs anymore. Alright, so the two I'm going to start off with are some older movies that either I just finally bought or they just got released on Blu-ray. Now this one, if I'm not mistaken, is a new to Blu-ray, but it could have just been something that Best Buy just decided to throw on the shelves. But that's So I Married an Axe Murderer. Now, I had never seen this movie before until a couple of nights ago, but my stepmom really loves this movie. It's always been a movie I've heard people talk about, like one of Mike Myers' first really big hits, and it was decent. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a huge Mike Myers fan. I like a couple of the Austin Powers movies. I'm not over the moon about them, but like Wayne's World, I like pieces of it. Wasn't a fan of The Love Guru. A lot of his stuff on Saturday Night Live was kind of funny, but he's never really been one of my real go-to comedians, Mike Myers. So this movie is, you definitely see some of the Austin Powers humor, like whenever he's playing multiple characters and stuff like that, but pretty much tells the story of Mike Myers. He's this guy who's kind of down on his luck as far as women. He does like these little poetry readings and everything. Finally meets the girl of his dreams, and it turns out she might be an axe murderer, just like the title says. And the comedy is basically just him trying to figure out if she's actually the murderer, and, you know, some hijinks ensue. So, pretty funny movie. I would say check it out on Netflix if you've never seen it before. If you love this movie, then you probably already own it, but I think this is a new to Blu-ray. Don't quote me on it, but it was at Best Buy. It was like $7, so definitely check that out. This one, these are both movies that I feel like need to be a part of my collection, and that's Bram Stoker's Dracula and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the one that has Robert De Niro. Now, I'll be honest with you, I really hate double and triple and quadruple little Blu-ray sets like this. It always drives me nuts as a collector. It's one of my little quirks, how all of a sudden now I have to put Mary Shelley's Frankenstein under D for Dracula. I know, it's just a weird thing that I'm not a fan of. But anyway, I have not seen Bram Stoker's Dracula since I was a kid, and when I was a kid I couldn't appreciate the movie at all, so I was curious to check that out again. And I've never seen the Frankenstein with Robert De Niro, so I'm really curious to check these out. I haven't had a chance to watch them since I bought it, but again, this was something that Best Buy was kind of promoting right alongside So I Married an Axe Murderer. It was like $7, so definitely go check this out. And like I said, I'll have a link down for that below. And let me know if you guys actually like these movies a lot, because I always hear mixed things about Dracula. I hear that it's really cool and different, and I hear that it's really long and boring and drawn out. And tell me what you think about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with Robert De Niro. Put all that in the comment section below. Now moving on to all of my new Blu-rays. It's going to be kind of a shorter episode because I didn't go 4K Blu-ray crazy this month, but I have a lot of good stuff to talk about. First one is the Autopsy of Jane Doe. Now this was a movie that I had heard hyped about before it finally released on VOD a couple months ago. I got a chance to watch it while it was on VOD, and while this movie does really execute a creepy tone, a sense of dread, a lot of things that many horror movies really get wrong, this does right. The final act kind of fell into cliche, predictable horror territory for me, and that really disappointed me. Now, I haven't had a chance to rewatch it. I liked the movie enough to buy it and give it a second chance, but it is a movie that you should kind of manage your expectations on before you actually go out and see it, because I hear so many people like, oh my god, I gotta see it, it's supposed to be the best thing ever. Manage your expectations a little bit. I guarantee you're going to enjoy it, especially if you're a hardcore horror fan. Like I said, there's a lot of things in here that most horror movies really fuck up that this one gets right, so you're going to enjoy it, but that third act just kind of disappointed me a little bit, so I'm going to say check it out on Netflix, but since it's not on Netflix just yet, you can check it out down below. Next, A Dog's Purpose. I bought this for Holly for a Mother's Day gift because she was dying to see this movie in theaters. She was pregnant at the time, and I told her, do not go see that depressing-ass movie while you're pregnant. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a mistake, and I'm glad she didn't because she was all tears for the entire 90 minutes of this movie. And I barely paid attention to it. I was actually editing a video while she was watching it, but I was kind of hearing things and half paying attention for the first, 45 minutes of this movie, and even I wanted to cry. This fucking movie does nothing but depress you. If you don't know the story of this movie, it's basically supposed to be this nice little cutesy sweet story, but it's not at all, where you have Josh Gad playing the voice of this dog. And anytime the dog dies, his consciousness, goes into another dog. So basically he gets like reincarnated as different breeds of dogs. He's a golden retriever, and then he's a corgi, and then he's a husky, and all these different things. And you have Dennis Quaid playing kind of the older version of his first owner. And if you are a dog lover, if you have ever owned a dog, and God forbid if you've ever had a dog die, this is not a movie to watch because it's going to depress the shit out of you. It's going to draw tears out of you. You're going to want to hang yourself in the closet because it is that sad. So on that merit alone, I'm going to say skip it. If you are just absolutely dying to see this, like Holly really enjoyed this. I don't understand how crying for 90 minutes is enjoying it. But anyway, if you know who you are and those are the types of movies that you like, give it a chance on Netflix, I guess. But for everybody else, stay in a happy place and just skip this one. Moving on from that, The Founder. Now, this was a movie that I was really curious about whenever it was coming to theaters. I'm really interested in Michael Keaton, the things that he's been doing since he's kind of had this reconnaissance in Hollywood where he's getting a lot of these really Oscar-heavy roles. And I could have swore before this movie came out this was going to be another Oscar nom for him, but it kind of got overlooked. And I understand why. It's basically the story of Ray Kroc. Michael Keaton plays Ray Kroc. If you know anything about Ray Kroc, he's the guy who kind of stole McDonald's out from underneath the two guys who created it, and he turned it into the global empire that it is today. And the first half of this movie is really interesting. It tells you how McDonald's got started. You get to see all the little innovations that they did, and you really get to dive into the company. It's very similar in its interesting take on the company as like the Social Network was with Facebook. Very, very similar. But the last half of the movie just kind of comes to a screeching halt. It becomes kind of not even really courtroom drama, but just kind of antagonistic phone calls back and forth. You really start to really dislike Michael Keaton's character, so you don't really identify with him too much. He kind of switches to scumbag in like a second, and you don't really get this smooth transition of him doing it. He just kind of turns scumbag out of nowhere. You don't even really identify with the McDonald's brothers too much because they're such dumbasses in all the things that they let Michael Keaton do that there's just nobody to root for in this movie, unfortunately. So, really interesting movie. It's really relatable. I mean, there's nobody in this earth who doesn't know what McDonald's is, so it's cool to see kind of the behind the scenes of it. And Michael Keaton does do great. And even the two guys who play the McDonald's brothers, I mean, you've got, you've got, his name is on the tip of my damn tongue. Sorry, guys. You've got Nick Offerman and John Carroll Lynch. Nick Offerman was the one I was trying to think of. But they play the McDonald's brothers. Everybody acts really good in this movie. But just the movie kind of falters and just not being all that enjoyable in the last half. So I'd say check it out on Netflix. It is worth seeing. It is worth checking out, but not really worth going out and spending $20 on just yet. So check that one out, guys. This one, the big, huge, hyped, talked about movie of 2017, Get Out. Now, Get Out to me, I was the one person that I saw kind of in my circle of, the YouTube sphere as far as people who were really into horror movies who kind of was like, okay, that was cool. I liked it. I wasn't like blown away like, oh my God, new God's gift to horror movies or sci-fi thrillers. No. It's a really good movie. This was directed and written by Jordan Peele, who's one half of Key and Peele. That merit alone is worth checking this out for because you think of a guy who's a comedian and a sketch comedian doing something like this. Really interesting to see what he does. But it basically tells the story of Chris, played by Daniel Kaluuya, and he is in a mixed race relationship. His girlfriend has taken him home to meet her parents, and when he gets there, things are really strange. Like the servants around the house act like they're really strange. None of the black people around the neighborhood act like black people are supposed to act. They all act like really confined and really proper, and they act white. It's hard to explain exactly what's going on without sounding offensive, but that's what the movie's about. So, and sinister things start coming to fruition of, what exactly is going on in this small suburban town. So very well written movie, very well directed movie, very well acted movie. I felt like there was a big plot hole in the third act, which I'm not going to say here, but it keeps me from really loving this movie because it's pretty sizable. And I've heard people online try to defend it. Like when I did my review, everybody was like, what plot hole are you talking about? And I'd say about 8 out of 10 people who I explained the plot hole to are like, holy crap, I never even thought of that. Yeah, that's a huge plot hole. And 2 out of 10 people try to defend it, but it didn't really explain the plot hole at all. It was just kind of a way to kind of brush it off your shoulder and kind of put blinders on against it. But pretty decent sized plot hole, but other than that, really tense movie, really interesting movie, really cool twists and turns along the way, really enjoyable, really comedic actually too. You got the guy, Lil Rel Howery, who is kind of a comedian, a stand-up comedian, and he's in this, and he does awesome. I want to see more of that guy, and I definitely want to see more of what Jordan Peele does. This is definitely a go out and buy it. Just manage your expectations a little bit with all the hype, because this movie has gotten so much hype, it's ridiculous. Pretty much anything close to a horror movie that wins with the critics gets overblown like crazy. This is not like the greatest thriller and horror movie to come out in years. It's definitely one of the better ones and one of the better written ones. And it's very culturally important for some of the things that it tackles in this. But just manage your expectations a little bit. It's a really good movie. Just don't expect, freaking Pan's Labyrinth, or don't expect The Godfather or something like that. Really good movie. Just manage your expectations. So go out and buy this one. Oh yeah, baby. Heat finally came out. Well, I'm not going to say finally. It came out on Blu-ray in it's a remastered version finally. So the Blu-ray that was released years ago is a pretty decent little Blu-ray, but it's definitely one of those Blu-rays that feels like more of a kind of up-converted DVD. This is one that was actually supervised by Michael Mann himself on the restoration. It's a really cool set. This thing was like $7 on Amazon. It probably still is $7. If you have not seen Heat, oh my God, why have you not seen Heat? This is one of the greatest crime thrillers ever made. It's one of Robert De Niro and Al Pacino's best movies. Basically tells a story. Al Pacino is this lead investigator. He takes down robbers, and you have Robert De Niro, who is like this mastermind thief. And it's basically about those two huge personalities clashing. Robert De Niro is trying to pull off this big heist. Al Pacino is trying to take down his team. And it's just one of the greatest crime thrillers ever. I'm not going to tell you anything more about it. Val Kilmer's great in it. You got Ashley Judd in a really good role. So many awesome performances and awesome scenes in this movie. This is one that's like one of the greatest movies ever made. So this is absolutely worth going out and buying. Like I said, it's like $7 on Amazon. Why would you not buy it? So go out and buy Heat, please. No, I'm not talking to you. Damn telemarketers. And we have the cream of the crop here. This is my pick of the month. I know I forgot to give one last month, and I apologize, guys, for the pick of the month thing. I'm so inconsistent with that. Sometimes I remember it, sometimes I totally fucking forget until I'm editing. And this month I'm remembering because this is absolutely worth talking about. Logan. I got the 4K Blu-ray set. I wanted to get the Steelbook. I had some shit going on at work. I couldn't get to Best Buy soon enough, and they were all gone by the time I got there. But still, this is a badass set. Comes with the 4K Blu-ray and the regular Blu-ray of both the movie and the noir version, the black and white version that they just released in theaters. Haven't had a chance to check that out yet, but I just rewatched this movie this past weekend, and I totally defend this placement of this movie in my top 5 comic book movies of all time. I put it as number 2. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen that video yet. But when I said it, I was like, I've only seen the movie once, so I hope I'm not going to bite myself later on for putting it at number 2 when I've only seen it once. Watched it a second time, totally deserves to be number 2. Over time, it might even become my number 1, but this movie is phenomenal. It's the best movie of the year so far by a landslide. You've got Hugh Jackman coming back to give probably his best performance as Wolverine by far, and the dude has not given a bad performance as Wolverine in his entire career, even in the shitty movies. You've got, what is her name? Obviously, Patrick Stewart is back as Professor X as well, given a performance of his career. You've got, why the hell can't... Daphne Keane. Daphne Keane plays X-23. She is awesome. You love her just as much as you love Wolverine and Patrick Stewart. This is basically telling the story of Wolverine. He's old now. He's starting to lose some of his healing powers. He's taking care of Professor X, who has got some forms of dementia, and they're basically just living off the grid. And then you got the entrance of this girl, X-23, played by Daphne Keane, who is basically a clone of Wolverine, and he's trying to get her across the country to this place called Eden, where the last of the mutants who are left on Earth are able to go and live free, basically. But this is the first rated R X-Men movie, and they utilize that R rating in their full potential, because this is bloody carnage. It is awesome. The action sequences are phenomenal. Performances are off the charts. It's so dramatic and so tear-jerking in some moments. And it's such a great way to go out, not only for Patrick Stewart as Professor X, but for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Going out on top with the performance of their careers. There is nothing I can recommend this movie more for. I mean, there's no flaws in this movie to me. I think it's absolutely perfect film. James Mangold did an awesome job. I really wish I could have seen what he would have done with the Wolverine had Fox not had their fingers on it, because there's really some awesome elements to the Wolverine, but you see some studio interference here. This is them saying, go make your movie. And they made a fucking hell of a movie, because Logan is phenomenal. It's one of the best comic movies of all time. It's the best movie of this year, and it deserves to be on your shelf. So go out and buy this, please. 2 more, guys. Now moving on to The Space Between Us. Again, I bought this for Holly. It looked a little bit interesting, but it wasn't really a movie that drew me to it. It seemed very kind of romantic, tween comedy kind of thing. Basically tells the story of Asa Butterfield. He is born, his mother is on the way to this kind of like this colonization project on Mars, and she gets pregnant, and she has him in space and passes away. So his entire life he is raised on Mars until he's like 17 or 18, decides he wants to go to Earth, he wants to experience Earth and experience life. He falls in love with Britt Robertson, who's always great. And basically it's about him kind of discovering Earth, discovering love, discovering friendship, discovering all these things about humanity that he has never got to experience before. And for the most part, they succeed really well. There's some elements of this, mainly the twist involving who his father is, that I thought was so corny and blown out of proportion as far as how, like, it was supposed to be this big shocking moment, and I'm like, that is so over the top and stupid that is just, why would you even put that in there? So there's elements of this that's really good. It's definitely, like I said, it's a tween kind of romantic comedy type of thing. It's a movie you throw on a Sunday afternoon when it's raining and you have nothing else to watch, just to kind of have a little feel-good moment for 90 minutes. It's a pretty good movie. The performances are good. I'm still not huge on Asa Butterfield. I didn't think he was all that great in the Tim Burton movie that he just did, Miss Peregrine. He's a little bit better in this. I always like seeing Britt Robertson. You got Gary Oldman in here, who's doing pretty good. Carla Gugino is always pretty good. And it's an interesting movie. It's an interesting tale. I think the book is probably better. It's based on a novel that a lot of people seem to like a lot. But it's worth checking out on Netflix. It's worth seeing. There's nothing like really glaringly wrong with this movie. It's just not a movie that I'm really going to gravitate to too much. I'm going to see it one time, which I've seen it. Probably not going to watch it again unless, you know, my girlfriend's in the mood to watch it, and then I'll just sit there and kind of watch it alongside her. But check it out on Netflix. And the last one, the big disappointment of the pack. XX, or Double X, or whatever the fuck they call this movie. This is basically a horror anthology movie that the big marketing campaign of this, and it even says at the top, 4 deadly tales from 4 female filmmakers. So this is the horror anthology for feminism. You got 4 female directors who turn in these 4 shorts, and I'm sorry, but this movie fucking sucks. And that's not saying that because they're female directors it sucks. It's just the movie itself sucks. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with anthology movies as it is, because there's really only one that I genuinely love, and that's Trick or Treat. Every other anthology movie I have ever watched, I like maybe 1 short, sometimes 2 shorts, and I often don't like the other 2. So it's like a movie I like half of. And oftentimes it's not like the first half and then I can just turn it off. It's like the first short and the third short or the 4th short. So anthology movies really annoy me, because very rarely do I get one that I honestly love every short. And this is a perfect example of why. You have the first short, which is The Box. And it's basically telling the story of this mother who's got their kids, or her kids, on this subway train. This little boy looks in this stranger's box, and then he goes home and he will not eat again for like months. They can't get him to eat anything. And then whenever he whispers into his sister's ear what was in the box, all of a sudden she won't eat anything. And it starts really intriguing. And it was actually, I was like, dude, this is going to be a really good anthology. This is a cool short. But then that short has such a terrible ending with no resolution whatsoever that all of a sudden I'm pissed again. You get to the second short, The Birthday Party, which has, I forget the actress's name, but she was the one who played the psycho neighbor on 2.5 Men. Horrible short. Not a horror short at all. Fucking terrible. Then you have Don't Fall, which is a complete rip-off of the first short in VHS involving the little bat creature that almost looks like Jeepers Creepers, and The Descent. It's like a weird mishmash of that. Hated that short because it's everything I've seen before done way better in those movies. And then you get the last one, which almost had something going for it, called Her Only Living Son. And it's basically like a years later story of Rosemary's Baby. It's where this woman has a teenage son, things start to happen to him, there's cultists that are coming around, and at the end of the day, basically, I mean, spoiler alert, I guess, but like I'm not recommending you go see this movie. Basically, it turns out that her son is the spawn of Satan somehow, and it's just the way that it kind of unfolds, again, really intriguing, really interesting, but then the resolution totally shits the bed, and it has this weird ending where it's like, what the fuck, that doesn't even make sense. So I didn't enjoy this at all. I'm not going to recommend you see this at all. This is definitely a skip it. I didn't like I said, the one short, The Box, is interesting enough, but the ending is just so terrible. I can't recommend you even go see that one. So big flub for this one. I'm sorry to the 4 female filmmakers who came up with this. I wish you guys would have had a better short to bring us, because it's just a bad movie. I'm sorry. It's a bad movie. If you've seen this and you have like some defense for it and you think some of these are actually really good, please put down below, especially if you like The Birthday Party. Please tell me down below why, but definitely skip this one. Well, that's my haul for this month, guys. Like I said, definitely go out. The ones that I said go out and buy, absolutely go check those movies out. Check out the ones on Netflix later on. They're not necessarily something you need to rush out and see, but check out all of these movies that you are interested in buying down in the info box below with my Amazon affiliate links. It'll take you right to the movies, and go and check it out there because it's a great way to support my channel. Please like and share this video, guys, and hit the subscribe button on the way out if you're not already a subscriber. And also check out some of my social media links if you want to follow me down there, down below, on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and my new Patreon page that I was talking about, where soon I'm going to be having a lot of cool exclusive content for patrons only. You can choose a movie for me to review every single month if you're one of my top contributors, and you also are going to have commentaries and other cool things coming your way that's for patron eyes only, so definitely check that out, guys. Like I said, like and share this video, and if you want to check out some more of my videos, including the rest of my off the shelves videos for the past year, you can check out a few more by clicking right over here.